This white boy, called Timmy, stood up for a pregnant black woman who was being harassed by a racist customer in a local coffee shop. Timmy had no idea the seemingly ordinary woman was a multi-millionaire, and that the next day, she would bless him with a gift that would change his entire life forever. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today, and if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe. There was a soft chime from the bell above the door as Timmy and Karen walked into their favorite cafe. The warm, welcoming smell of freshly brewed coffee filled the room and made them feel better right away. After seeing and hearing the busy little spot a lot of times before, Timmy's eyes lit up. "Mom, can we sit by the window?" "What is it?" Timmy asked, his voice full of excitement. Karen looked down at her son with a big smile on her face. "Of course, honey. Let's find a cozy spot." They made their way through the cafe, going by tables where people were talking and hearing friendly voices. The big front windows let in a lot of light, which warmed the worn-out wooden floors. Timmy noticed that his mom's shoulders were loosening up as they sat down at their favorite corner table. The stress from her long work week seemed to melt away. He reached across the table and gently squeezed her hand. Timmy said in a soft, honest voice, "Mom, I'm so glad we came here today." Karen smiled back at him with wrinkles around the edges of her eyes. "Yes, honey, it seems like this place always makes you feel better." The waitress, an older woman called Betty, who was friendly, came up to their table with a smile. "If it isn't my favorite mother-son pair, then it is. What can I get you today?" Timmy's face lit up. "Hello, Miss Betty. Please give me a hot chocolate with extra whipped cream." Betty laughed, and her eyes lit up. "You get it, kid. What about you, Karen?" "Thanks, Betty. I'll just have a regular coffee," Karen said with a smile. Betty went to get their drinks, and Timmy looked around the cafe as she did so. There were families, friends, and even people sitting alone with their books or computers. He loved seeing all of them. It made him feel like he was a part of a bigger group of village where people shared stories and laughed. Karen was proud and loved as she watched her son. Even with all the problems they'd had, Timmy had become such a kind and thoughtful boy. She reached out and ran her hand through his hair in a sweet way. "Hey, honey, what's on your mind?" He had a thoughtful look on his face. "So?" she asked. Timmy looked back at her with warm eyes. "I was just telling Mom how lucky we are to have each other in this place." Karen could feel tears coming out of her eyes. "Oh, Timmy," she said, in a deep voice, full of feeling. "We're lucky, so lucky." Betty came back with their drinks as Karen and Timmy settled into their cozy area. They could smell the strong smell of coffee and the sweet smell of hot chocolate. Betty kindly set down their drinks and said, "Here you go, dears. Are you ready to place your favorite order?" With a smile, Karen said, "Yes. Please say yes. I want the vegetable omelet with whole wheat toast. Could I please have the blueberry pancakes?" "Pleased to ask," Timmy said, his eyes shining with excitement. With a nod, Betty wrote down their requests. All set to go. The bell above the cafe door rang again as Betty walked away. Timmy's attention was pulled to the door, where a black woman who looked like she was pregnant had just come in. One hand was on her large stomach as she looked around the busy cafe. She looked tired. Timmy looked at her with interest and worry. He saw that she winced a little as she took a step forward, which meant she was clearly uncomfortable. "Look at that woman," Timmy whispered to his mom, as he gently pulled on Karen's sleeve. "It looks like she needs help." Karen looked where Timmy was looking, and her face softened when she saw the pregnant woman. "Yes, honey, it looks like she could use some help." Lisa, the woman, stood near the door and looked around the crowded cafe for an empty table. She looked unsure. Timmy felt bad for her because no one else seemed to notice how upset she was. He didn't think twice before getting up from his chair. "Mom, can we ask her to sit down with us? Our table has plenty of space." Karen was so proud of how thoughtful her son was. "That's a great idea, sir. You could go ask her." Timmy gave a nod and walked across the calf, taking careful but determined steps. He smiled warmly at Lisa as he walked up to her. "Excuse me, ma'am," Timmy said, in a nice voice that showed he was nervous. "Mom and I saw you looking for a table. Would you like to sit down with us? There are extra chairs here." Lisa looked down at Timmy with a face full of wonder and thanks. She wasn't expecting a young boy in a busy calf to be so nice. Lisa answered with a soft voice, "That's very kind of you. Is it really going to be a bother?" Timmy gave a firm shake of the head. "Not at all. We'd love to have you. Come rest and sit down." Tiffany led Lisa back to their table, and Karen got up and pulled out a chair for their new guest with a smile. Lisa sighed with relief as she slid into the seat. Lisa said, "Thank you both so much," and her eyes were filled with thanks. "Thank you so much for being kind." Karen didn't say thank you. "It makes us happy. Hi, my name is Karen, and this is my son Mark." Timmy was happy to have helped and was beaming with pride. "Ma'am, can we get you something to drink?" A loud, angry voice cut through the pleasant talk in the calf before Lisa could answer. "What's going on here?" People turned their heads to see Mr. Anderson, a regular who is known for being grumpy, staring at their table. He had a scowl on his face and pointed the finger at Lisa as if she did something wrong. "Your kind doesn't belong here," he spat, his words full of poison. "Go back to where you came from." There was a lot of stress in the air as the calf went silent. Lisa tightened her shoulders and moved her hand to protect her unborn child. Timmy looked around with wide eyes in shock and confusion. Karen got up, and her face turned red with anger. "Mr. Anderson, that's not at all appropriate." But Mr. Anderson wasn't done yet. He kept going on and on, each word more mean than the last. "I remember that this spot was nice before they let everyone in. Look at it now." Other customers moved around in their seats, some covering their eyes, while others watched the scene with a mix of fear and shock. Timmy's heart was racing because he didn't know why this man was being so mean. He saw Lisa's hurt eyes, and how she seemed to shrink away when Mr. Anderson said mean things to her. The waitress, Betty, ran over and tried to make things better. "That's all I have to say, Mr. Anderson. This place doesn't allow that kind of talk." But Mr. Anderson wouldn't be quieted down. He poked Lisa again with his finger, and his voice got louder. "She has no place here. Do you not see that?" Right now, the calf was very quiet. The only sound was the loud echo of Mr. Anderson's words. Lisa sat there frozen, her eyes sad, trying to hide how small she was in the face of such clear hate. Timmy's heart was beating fast as he watched what was happening. He looked quickly from Lisa's sad face to Mr. Anderson's angry one, and then to the other customers who were sitting quietly. It made the young boy feel confused and angry at the same time. Being mean to someone, especially a woman who was going to have a baby, was something he couldn't understand. As things got more tense in the calf, Timmy looked up at his mother with wide, worried eyes. Karen looked her son in the eyes with a calm, determined look on her face. She gave a small, boosty nod, and her eyes were full of joy and support. The quiet message was clear to Timmy. His mom always taught him to do the right thing, be nice to other people, and help those in need. He knew she was telling him it was okay to act on the sense of right that was growing in him. After taking a big breath, Timmy sat up straight. He was scared, but remembering the lessons his mother had taught him made him strong. He reached out and gently touched Lisa's arm with a hand that was shaking. Timmy spoke with a shaking voice that got louder with each word. "Don't listen to him, ma'am. You have every right to be here." Lisa looked up at the brave little boy, and her eyes were still wet with tears. A small smile of thanks tugged at the edges of her mouth. Lisa's smile gave Timmy the courage to get up from his chair. Even though his legs were weak, he forced himself to turn around and face Mr. Anderson. People in the calf held their breath when the boy spoke up. "Mr. Anderson," Timmy said, his voice clear, even though he was worried. My mom always says that everyone should be treated with kindness and respect. Exactly what you say. Is not at all polite or kind. As Timmy stood up, his heart was beating fast in his chest, and his small frame was shaking a little. Everyone in the cafe went quiet and looked at the brave little boy. His face was twisted with shock and anger, and he stared at Timmy with his mouth open. When Timmy spoke, his voice was calm and clear, even though he was scared. Anderson, please stop being mean to this woman. She didn't do something wrong. Mr. Anderson's face turned red, and he clenched his hands together. He began, "Listen here, boy," but Timmy cut him off. "No, you listen," Timmy told her, which surprised him with how brave he was. "My mom always tells us to treat other people the way we want to be treated. Would you like it if someone spoke badly about you?" The cafe stayed quiet, and there was a lot of stress in the air. Lisa was amazed as she watched Karen's son with tears in her eyes of pride. Timmy paused for a moment and then went on. "This woman is going to have a child. She needs nice people, mean ones. Leave her alone, Mr. Anderson. We beg you." In a split second, Mr. Anderson's face showed anger, confusion, and finally a hint of shame. He opened his mouth to talk, but nothing came out. Timmy's voice got softer, but still strong. "Also, my mom always says it's okay to be nice. That might be a better idea." Their simple advice touched everyone in the cafe. The boy's words hung in the air. Even Mr. Anderson seemed to be affected. His angry face slowly changed into one of doubt. When Timmy stood his ground, he looked Mr. Anderson straight in the eyes. People praised the boy's bravery. Soon, other customers started to nod and whisper that they agreed with what Timmy was saying. The cafe went silent, and everyone looked at Timmy. The little boy's words hung in the air, and everyone there felt the simple wisdom of them. Even Mr. Anderson seemed to be affected. His angry face slowly changed into one of doubt. No one moved for a short time. The coffee maker's soft hum was the only sound. Timmy didn't give up. In the face of injustice, his small body seemed bigger. His eyes stayed fixed on Mr. Anderson's, filled with unshakable determination. The look on Mr. Anderson's face changed from anger to confusion to a hint of shame. He opened his mouth to talk, but nothing came out. This man, who had been very talkative not long ago, was now at a loss. As everyone waited to see what would happen next, they could feel the stress in the air. Some of the customers held their breath, and others moved their heads to show they agreed with what Timmy said. Last, but not least, Mr. Anderson looked away from Timmy and around the cafe, noticing the frowns on the faces of other customers. This time, his face turned red, but not because he was mad. It was because he was embarrassed. Mr. Anderson said something bad under his breath as he took his coat off the back of his chair. As he quickly made his way to the exit, he didn't look at anyone. The bell above the door rang as he pushed it open, and walked out into the street, leaving a cafe full of shocked people behind. The whole cafe seemed to let out a sigh of relief as Mr. Anderson's door shut behind him. The stress that had been building up went away, and they were filled with what they had just seen. Lisa slowly got up from her seat as the door shut behind Mr. Anderson. Her eyes were still wet with tears. As she walked over to Timmy and Karen's table, she took a deep breath and put one hand on her swollen stomach. Even though Lisa was coming closer, the only sound in the cafe was the soft sound of her steps. Timmy looked up at her, and his young face showed that he was worried and determined. Lisa said, "Thank you," in a soft voice that was full of feeling. She gently touched Timmy's shoulder and said, "Thank you so much." Her thanks was clear in every move she made. With a warm smile, Karen gave Lisa a hug. When she looked at her son, Karen felt proud. She just said, "It was the right thing to do." Lisa agreed and wiped away a tear that had come out. She said to Karen, "Your son is so brave. Most grown-ups would not have done what he did." Timmy looked down at his hands and blushed when he was praised. he said, in a voice barely above a whisper. I just didn't like seeing you treated that way. Lisa got on her knees next to Timmy and looked him in the eyes. She told him, what you did means more than you know. It takes a lot of courage to stand up for what's right. Right on time, there was a lot of praise in the cafe. The people who were there to watch the scene started to cheer and clap for Timmy. The small room was filled with sound of people applauding the brave young boy. He looked around the cafe with wide open eyes and shock. People looked at him with smiles and nods of respect. Some people even stood up, and the cheers got louder. Karen was so proud that she put her arm around her son's shoulders. She kissed the top of his head and whispered, "You did good, Timmy." The cheers kept coming in, hitting Timmy in waves. A warm feeling spread through his chest. It was a mix of shame and happiness. He did what he did because he thought it was the right thing to do, not to be a hero or get praise. Lisa stood up and joined the cheers. The young boy had stood up for her when no one else would have, and she was so thankful and proud of him. Lisa pulled up a chair to join Timmy and Karen at their table when the cheers stopped. The cafe slowly went back to its normal chatter, but there was a new friendliness in the air. Lisa said in a soft, thankful voice, "I hope it's okay for me to join you. I'd really like to thank you." Karen gave a warm smile. "Of course. Please sit down." "Hi, my name is Karen, and this is my son Mark." Lisa sat down in the chair and put her hand on her stomach. "It's great to meet you both. My name is Lisa." She stopped and took a deep breath. What took place today? That's not the first time I've dealt with something like that. Timmy's eyes got bigger, and worry was written all over his young face. He leaned in close and paid close attention as Lisa began to talk. Lisa went on, "I've dealt with prejudice my whole life." Her voice was steady but sad. "It hasn't always been easy for black women to live in this town. Now that I'm pregnant and single, some people are quick to judge." Karen reached out and gave Lisa's hand a soft pat. "I feel awful that you had to go through that. This should not happen to anyone." Lisa nodded, and a small smile crept up her face. "It's been hard, but I'm set on making the best life for my baby. I have 2 jobs to try to save money for when the baby comes." Up until now, Timmy had been quiet. Now, he spoke up. He told her, "That's really brave of you, Miss Lisa. You have to work so hard for your child." Lisa looked at Timmy with softer eyes. "Thank you, sweetheart. That means a lot to me." She paused and looked back and forth between Timmy and Karen. "You know, seeing how you two get along gives me hope that I can make my kid as brave and kind as Timmy." Karen put her arm around Timmy's shoulders and smiled with pride. "Being a single mom hasn't always been easy, but days like today make me feel like we're doing fine." While Lisa talked more about her life, her problems, and her hopes for the future, Timmy paid close attention. He really related to Lisa's story, and his young heart felt bad for the problems she was having. After the talk was over, Lisa took a quick look at her watch. "Oh, my, I've taken up so much of your time. I need to go," she said, but she didn't want to. Karen smiled and shook her head. "Not at all. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, Lisa." Timmy happily nodded his head. "Yeah, Miss Lisa, I'm really glad we met." Lisa could not hold back tears as she thought about how kind this mother and son were. She dug around in her bag and found a small notepad and pen. "I'd love to stay in touch, if that's okay," she said, with a pleasant tone of voice. "Maybe we could grab coffee again sometime?" As soon as Karen saw the notepad, she said, "That would be great." She wrote down her email address and phone number, then tore the page up and gave it to Lisa. "Please don't hesitate to reach out if you ever need anything." Lisa carefully put the piece of paper in her bag and then wrote down her own phone number for Karen. She put a soft hand on Timmy's shoulder as she stood up. "Thank you again, Timmy. What you did today means more than you know." He smiled at her with a big grin on his face, full of pride. "I'm just glad I could help, Miss Lisa." As Lisa walked to the door of the cafe, she turned around. one last time and waved goodbye to Rick and Karen. As she walked out into the morning light, the bell above the door rang. Like a wave of satisfaction, Timmy watched her leave. He chose the right thing to do and made a new friend in the process. His mother's words from earlier kept playing over and over in his mind, telling him how important it is to be kind and brave. Karen proudly squeezed Timmy's hand. "You did good today, sweetheart. Really good." With a smile, Timmy felt a warmth spread through his chest. He felt great because he knew that his brave action had made a difference. That was better than any prize he could think of. Timmy kept thinking about what had happened in the morning as he and Karen walked home. The warm afternoon sun cast long shadows on the path, and the leaves in the trees were moving in the light breeze. The new spring in Timmy's step was matched by the firm grip of his hand on his mother's. "Mom," Timmy broke the quiet, "do you think we did the right thing today?" Karen gave him a comforting squeeze on the hand. "Absolutely, sweetheart. Standing up for others is always the right thing to do." Timmy said, "Yes," and a small smile appeared on the sides of his mouth. "I felt scared at first, but then I remembered what you always tell me about being brave." "And you were very brave," Karen said, with pride in her voice. "I couldn't be more proud of you, Timmy." Timmy thought about Lisa as they turned onto their street. He wanted to know how she was doing and if she was safe at home. He hoped that they would see her soon. When they got to their simple house, Karen opened the front door for them. Timmy took off his shoes, sat down on the couch in the living room, and let out a happy sigh. His eyes were fixed on the sky. "Mom," he said, "I feel great about what happened today. Like I made a difference." His hair was being combed by Karen as she sat down next to him. "You did make a difference, Timmy. You showed Lisa that there are good people in this world who will stand up for what's right." Timmy sat up, and his eyes lit up with joy. "Do you think we'll see her again? Maybe we could invite her over for dinner sometime?" Karen laughed at how excited her son was. "That's a wonderful idea, honey. We'll give her a call in a few days and see if she'd like to visit." In his mind, Timmy kept going over what had happened in the morning as the afternoon began. He felt very good about himself because he knew that his brave action had made someone's day better. He was glad to see Lisa again, but he also knew that being kind and brave was the most important thing, no matter who was looking. The next morning, light from the sun came in through Timmy's bedroom window and woke him up slowly. His arms were stretched out above his head as he yawned and rubbed his eyes. When he got out of bed, he saw something on the table next to him. A fancy package was propped up against his alarm clock. It was made of thick, white paper and had small gold swirls around the edges. The front had Timmy's name written in beautiful, swooping lettering. He felt his heart start to beat faster with joy. Someone must have sent him a very fancy letter. He carefully opened the package while his hands were shaking, being careful not to tear it. Inside, he found a card with beautiful design. It said, "Hi Timmy. Thank you for your kind act. You are cordially invited to a special event at Lardon Restaurant this evening at 7 o'clock p.m. We would be honored if you and your mother would join us for a celebration of kindness and bravery. Please dress appropriately, and there is no need to RSVP. We look forward to seeing you there." Timmy's eyes got really big in shock. He had never been to a nice place before. It was the nicest restaurant in town, and he had only seen it from the outside. He jumped out of bed and ran to the kitchen, where Karen was making breakfast, yelling, "Mom? Mom, what is it, sweetie?" Karen asked, worried about Timmy's need to act quickly. Timmy jumped on his toes as he threw the card into her hands and read it. "Can we go, Mom, please?" First Karen looked confused, then shocked, and finally, with a warm smile on her face. "Of course, we can go, Timmy. This is quite an honor." Although Timmy was excited and nervous at the same time, he felt that the offer was real. He had never eaten at a fancy place before. What if he messed up or used the wrong fork? What if I mess up? What if I embarrass myself? he asked his mother in a low voice. Karen got down on her knees next to Timmy and put her hands on his shoulders. Timmy, remember this. It's not about being perfect. It's about being yourself, the kind, brave boy who stood up for what's right. That's why you're being honored. Karen took another look at the offer, this time with a slightly raised brow. She was moved by the act of kindness, but she also felt a twinge of worry. They didn't know who sent it, after all. Timmy, honey, she said with care, I think we should check if this invite is real before we get too excited. Timmy's face fell a little, but he nodded because he knew his mom was worried. Karen grabbed her phone and called the number on the bottom of the offer. It took a few rings before a friendly, businesslike voice picked up. Lardon Restaurant, how may I assist you? Karen took a big breath. Hello, my name is Karen. My son Timmy and I received an invitation to an event at your restaurant this evening. I was wondering if you could confirm if this is genuine. There was a short pause, and then the voice excitedly replied. Yes, Karen and Timmy. We've been eagerly anticipating your call. The invitation is real, and we're thrilled that you've reached out. Karen felt calm and happy all at once. Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Could you tell me a bit more about the event? The person speaking got even warmer in tone. Of course, it's a special celebration in honor of acts of kindness and bravery in our community. Your son's actions at the cafe have not gone unnoticed, and we would be honored to have you both attend. Karen couldn't help but smile as she heard the facts. She took a quick look at Timmy, who was watching her very carefully. He had big, hopeful eyes. Karen said, Thank you so much for the information. We're looking forward to attending. When she hung up the phone, Timmy was so excited he could hardly stand it. Well, Mom, is it real? Can we go? Karen gave a nod, and her eyes sparkled. It's real, sweetie. We're going to Lardon tonight. Timmy jumped up and down and let out a happy whoop. This is going to be amazing. Timmy stood in front of the mirror in his bedroom. He was taking his best dress shirt off and on again. It was clean and white, very different from the t-shirts and pants he usually wore. He worked hard to make himself look decent, which made his face scrunch up. He called out, Mom, his voice full of both joy and anger. I can't get these buttons right. Karen walked in the hallway already wearing a simple but classy blue dress. When she saw her son having trouble with his shirt, her eyes got softer. She bent down to help him and said, Here, let me help you, sweetie. She felt so proud as she fixed his buttons. Timmy, you look so good. Just like a little gentleman. Timmy smiled at the praise, and his anger from earlier went away. Do you think they'll have fancy food at the restaurant, Mom? He asked, his eyes wide with surprise. Karen let out a soft laugh. I'm sure they will, but remember, it's not about the food. It's about celebrating kindness and bravery, kindness and bravery. When they were done getting ready, they both felt a lot of different feelings. There were mixed feelings of excitement and nerves as they thought about going to such an important event. Lardon was the most fancy restaurant in town, and they had only ever looked at it from the outside. Karen grabbed her purse and car keys and asked, Are you ready, Timmy? He took a deep breath and nodded. I think so, Mom. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited too. Karen gave him a friendly smile and reached out to grab his hand. That's okay, sweetie. I'm a little nervous too, but we'll be there together, and that's what matters. They walked out to their old, but well-kept car hand in hand. As they drove through town, the streets got pricier one by one, and soon they could see the shiny front of Lardon. When Timmy saw the restaurant, his eyes got really big. There were twinkling lights at the front door, and well-dressed people were walking inside. It looked like something from a storybook. Wow, he said, in a voice that was almost whispery. As they got out of the car, Karen put her hand on his to make him feel better. Remember, Timmy, you deserve to be here. What you did was brave and kind, and that's what tonight is all about. Mom and son took a big breath and walked toward the door. ready for an evening that was unlike any other they had been to. As soon as Timmy and Karen walked into Lardon, they felt a sense of class surround them. Chandeliers made of crystal sparkled in the sky, and the sound of soft talk filled the room. A host in nice clothes smiled and welcomed them. His voice was warm and friendly, and he said, "Good evening. You must be Timmy and Karen. We've been expecting you. Please follow me." Timmy looked all over the room, noticing the soft rugs and fancy decorations. He tightly held his mother's hand, because he felt a little shocked by how grand everything was. Karen also didn't feel like she belonged, but she put on a brave face for her son. The host took them through the main dining area where people dressed up were eating. There was something different about this family business that Timmy couldn't help but notice. The host smiled at them as they walked toward a door at the far end of the room. He opened the door with a flourish and said, "Your private dining area is ready." When Timmy and Karen walked in, they were shocked. Even though the room was pretty with flowers and soft lighting, what caught their eye was the person who was waiting for them. Lisa stood next to a beautifully set table. She was wearing a beautiful emerald green dress that made her big belly stand out. When she saw them walk in, she smiled widely. Lisa yelled, "Timmy, Karen," in a loud, happy voice. "I'm so glad you could make it." Steve's eyes got really big in shock. He laughed and asked, "Lisa?" His voice was a mix of surprise and joy. "What are you doing here?" Karen was just as shocked, but she found her voice. "We had no idea you'd be here. This is quite a surprise." Lisa's eyes sparkled with happiness and fun. She walked over to them, her steps graceful, even though she was hurt. "Well, I couldn't miss the chance to properly thank the brave young man who stood up for me, could I? You two are in for quite an evening." Lisa waved for Karen and Timmy to sit down at the table. As they sat down in the soft chairs, Lisa sat down across from them, her eyes bright with joy. Lisa's voice was soft but important as she said, "I have a confession to make. I'm not just a regular customer at the cafe. I'm actually the owner." Todd's eyes got really big with surprise, and Karen let out a small gasp. Lisa went on, and her smile got bigger. "But that's not all. I'm also a philanthropist, and I have quite a bit of wealth that I use to help others." Timmy turned his head to try to understand. He asked her in a mild way, "But why were you pretending to be someone else?" Lisa leaned forward, and her face showed that she understood. "You see, Timmy, I often go undercover to see how people really treat each other. It's my way of finding genuine kindness in the world." With a slow nod, Karen started to get it. "So that day at the cafe?" "Yes," Lisa said, "for sure. I was there to watch, to see if anyone would speak out against injustice. And you too," she said, with tears in her eyes. "You too showed me the courage and kindness I've been looking for." Timmy was happy and proud, but he was also a little lost. He asked, "But why do you do this?" Lisa's face changed to one of thought. She patted Timmy on the hand and said, "I've seen my fair share of prejudice in my life. It made me want to make a difference, to find and reward kindness wherever I could find it. What you did that day, standing up to Mr. Anderson, I wasn't just brave. It was a beacon of hope. It showed me that there are still good people in this world, people willing to stand up for what's right." Karen wiped a tear from her eye because Lisa's words and what was happening made her feel so much. "We had no idea," she said, in a soft voice. Lisa gave them both a warm smile. "That's the beauty of it. Your kindness was genuine, not because you thought you'd get something out of it, but because it was the right thing to do." Lisa kept talking, her voice full of feeling, and her eyes were wet with tears that hadn't dried yet. "Timmy, Karen, what you did that day touched my heart more than you could ever know. It's rare to find such genuine kindness and bravery, especially in a world that can sometimes feel so cold." Timmy paid close attention, and his young face showed a mix of pride and awe. Karen reached out and squeezed his hand. They both cried tears of happiness and love for their son. Lisa then spoke, her eyes moving between the mother and son. Your actions reminded me of why I started this mission in the first place. To find and honor those who make the world a better place, one small act at a time. She paused and took a deep breath before going on. That's why I've invited you here today. I want to reward you both for your bravery and compassion. It shocked Timmy and made his eyes wide. Reward us? He asked, in a voice that was almost whispered. Lisa said, yes, and a warm smile spread across her face. She turned to Karen and told her what a big part she played. Yes, Timmy, what you did deserves praise. It's not just about standing up to Mr. Anderson. It's about how your actions can affect our community. And you, Karen, the values you've instilled in Timmy, the way you've raised him to be kind, and just that deserves recognition too. Karen turned red with both humbled and pride at the same time. She said in a soft voice, we don't need a reward. We just did what was right. Lisa reached out and gave Karen's hand a soft pat. I know you don't need it, and that's exactly why you deserve it. Your humility and genuine goodness are rare and precious. He looked up at his mom and then back at Lisa. He asked, what kind of reward? Because he was interested. Lisa smiled even more. Well, that's what I wanted to discuss with you both. I have some ideas, but I'd like to hear your thoughts too. After all, the best rewards are the ones that truly make a difference in people's lives. Lisa was very excited as she reached into her bag and took out a beautiful envelope. She gave it to Timmy, who took it with hands that were shaking. Lisa said in a soft voice, go ahead and open it. Timmy carefully opened the envelope, his little fingers stumbling a little with excitement. He took out something that looked official and started to read it, his brow furrowing in focus. Karen leaned in because she was too interested to hold back. As they both looked through it, their eyes grew wide with shock. Karen asked in a whisper, is this real? Her voice was choked with emotion. Lisa smiled and nodded, and her words seemed sincere and warm. Yes, it is. Timmy, I'm setting up a scholarship fund for your education. This means that when you're ready for college or any other educational path you choose, you won't have to worry about how to pay for it. When Timmy looked up from the paper, his eyes were filled with a mix of thanks and surprise. But why? He asked, his young mind trying to make sense of how big this gift was. Lisa leaned in, and her speech was soft, but firm. Because, Timmy, kindness and bravery like yours should be nurtured. I want to make sure you have every opportunity to grow, learn, and continue making this world a better place. Karen wiped a tear from her face because she was so touched by the kindness. She whispered, this is too much, shaking her head in shock. Lisa told her, it's not too much. It's an investment in a brighter future, not just for Timmy, but for all the lives he'll touch as he grows up. Timmy looked at the paper one more time, then at his mom, and finally at Lisa. Even though his voice was small, it was strong. Thank you, Miss Lisa. I promise I'll work hard and make you proud. Lisa's eyes were wet with tears that hadn't dried yet. Oh, Timmy, you've already made me proud. This is just to ensure that you can keep following your heart and standing up for what's right, no matter where life takes you. Lisa looked at Karen with eyes that were bright with joy. And that's not all, she said, making me feel welcome with her words. Karen, I have an offer for you too. Karen blinked in surprise and reached out to touch Timmy's shoulder. For me? She asked in a voice that was almost whispery. Lisa smiled bigger as she nodded. Yes, for you. I'm incredibly impressed by the way you've raised Timmy. Your guidance and values are clearly reflected in his actions. I'd like to offer you a job at my organization. Karen's eyes got bigger, and she leaned in a little to listen to Lisa carefully. As Lisa went on, her tone became more serious. We work to help people in need. People who face discrimination, poverty, and other challenges. I believe your compassion and strength would be invaluable to our team. Karen's mouth dropped open in shock, and she looked up at Timmy, who was smiling at her. She looked back at Lisa with tears in her eyes. She stuttered, I don't know what to say. The offer came as a surprise to her. Lisa reached over the table and put her soft hand on Karen's. She told her, you don't have to decide right now. But I want you to know that this opportunity is here for you if you want it. Karen tried to calm down by taking a deep breath. She looked at Timmy and then back at Lisa. Her face showed a mix of thanks and shock. She spoke with a heavy heart. It's more than I ever could have imagined. Timmy squished his mom's hand, and his eyes lit up with pride and joy. He told his mother, you'd be so good at helping people. Karen let out a soft laugh and wiped a tear from her face. She took another deep breath and straightened her shoulders. Her face showed that she was more determined than before. Lisa, I would be honored to accept your offer, she said, raising her voice with each word. Lisa was so happy that her face lit up. She clapped her hands together and said, wonderful. I'm so thrilled to have you join us, Karen. Together, we can make a real difference in people's lives. Karen nodded, and her chest puffed with a mix of joy and worry. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for everything. I promise I'll work hard and do my best to help others. As soon as the sun came up, many people in their small town heard about Timmy's brave actions and the amazing surprise that followed. Words spread like wildfire on the winds of rumors and praise. Early that morning, someone first knocked on their door. Next door neighbor, Mrs. Wilson, was there with a hot apple pie in her arms. I heard what happened, she said, with pride in her eyes. You two are simply amazing. Karen got red in the face and smiled happily as she took the pie. A mix of shyness and happiness showed on Timmy's face as he peered out from behind his mother. A steady line of people came to their simple home all day. Some brought small gifts, while others just wanted to shake their hands and say congratulations. The Petersons from across the street brought a card that was made by all the kids in the area and signed by everyone. The retired teacher, Mr. Garcia, came by and told Timmy how proud he was of him with tears in his eyes. Friends and family members who lived far away called to tell her how happy and proud they were. In a choked voice, Karen's sister called from 3 states away to tell her how proud she was of her. People even stopped Karen and Timmy in the grocery store aisles to give them pats on the back and nice words. They got a discount from the cashier, who winked and said, "For our local heroes." Timmy sat on the doorsteps and watched the sun go down. As it got dark, it wasn't the weather that made him feel warm in the chest. Karen joined him and put her arm around his shoulders. It was a soft question. "How are you feeling, sweetie?" His eyes were shining as he looked up at her. "I feel good, Mom, but I didn't do it for all this attention. I just wanted to help." Karen squeezed him even tighter, feeling proud. "I know, honey. That's what makes you so special. You did the right thing simply because it was right." In the days that followed, Timmy's act of kindness continued to move people in his neighborhood. People all over the world were moved by his story, which led to talks about bravery and kindness. In the morning, Karen took a call from Timmy's school director while he ate breakfast. She looked at me with wide eyes and a smile on her face as I spoke. As she hung up the phone, she told Timmy, "The principal wants you to speak at a special assembly. They want you to talk about standing up to injustice." Timmy's spoon broke and fell into his breakfast bowl. "Me, speak in front of the whole school?" he asked, his voice shaking with excitement and fear. Karen got down on one knee next to him. She looked at him with eyes full of love and pride. "You can do it, sweetie. Your story is important, and it could help other kids learn to be brave, too." He worked on his speech for a few days. After that, outside, in front of the mirror, and even to his stuffed animals, he practiced. Karen told him to talk from the heart and helped him find the right words. On the day of the gathering, Timmy stood behind the scenes with his hands slightly shaking. He took a quick look around and saw a sea of faces in the hall. There were students, teachers, and even some parents. Lisa gave him a comforting smile when he saw her in the crowd. The principal presented Timmy and said that he was a hero in the community and an example for all of us. The room went wild with cheers as Timmy walked to the microphone. He took a deep breath and spoke up. His voice got louder with each word, even though it was soft at first. In the cafe, he talked about that day and how it made him feel to see someone being treated badly. "I was scared," he said, "but I knew I had to do something. My mom always taught me that it's important to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard." There were nods and tears in the crowd as Timmy spoke. He said that everyone could stand up against wrongdoing, and that one small act of kindness could make a big difference. "We can all be heroes," Timmy said, in a strong voice. "All we need to be brave and kind." There was thunderous applause in the hall. Both students and teachers stood up and cheered for Timmy. He felt warm all the way through his chest as he looked out at the crowd. He knew that his small act of kindness had set off a chain of events that was much bigger than himself. As the weeks went by, Timmy and Karen got used to their new habits. They were both excited and scared about how their lives would change after that fateful day at the cafe. Karen's first day working for Lisa's company came, and she was very worried when she woke up. She carefully picked out new clothes for work for her new job. Timmy came into the kitchen while she was making breakfast and rubbed his sleepy eyes. He hugged her and asked, "Are you ready for your big day, Mom?" Karen smiled, and her eyes sparkled with joy. "I think so, sweetie. It's a big change, but I'm looking forward to it." Karen drove to the group's office after dropping off Timmy at school. The building was new and warm, and it had big windows that let in lots of light. Lisa gave her a warm welcome as she walked through the doors. Lisa walked Karen around the office and said, "Welcome, Karen. We're so glad you've joined our team." Karen's new job was to run outreach programs in their neighborhood for families who were struggling. She spent her days helping people in need by talking to them, setting them up with tools, and coming up with new ways to make a difference. Things were hard at first with the work. Karen had to learn new things and figure out how to handle tough situations. But each day, she felt stronger and happier. Every night, she told her stories about the people she had helped and changed. Timmy loved hearing about the day his mom had it. He would do his homework at the kitchen table while Karen made dinner and talked about her life. "Today, we helped a single dad find affordable childcare so he could go back to work," she'd say. "Or we organized a food drive for families struggling to make ends meet." Timmy would pay close attention and look with wide eyes of admiration. "Mom, you're like a superhero," he'd say, which would make Karen laugh and mess up his hair. Karen did great in her new job as the days turned into weeks. She was excited to face the tasks of the day every morning when she woke up. It was sometimes hard work, but helping other people made it all worth it. Things started to change for Timmy at school as the weeks went by. With Lisa's grant, he could do new things, and his studies gave him a new sense of purpose. He was always excited to learn. When he woke up, his bag was full of books, and his mind was full of questions. Timmy's hand went up more often in class, and he answered questions with more confidence. His teachers noticed the change and praised him for paying more attention and getting better grades. He would sit with his friends at lunch and be excited to tell them what he had learned that day. He would say with wide eyes, "Did you know that there are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on all the beaches on Earth?" His friends would listen and be amazed by how much he knew and how excited he was about it. Timmy loved learning so much that his friends quickly came to him for help with their assignments. At home, Karen was proud to see how her son had changed. He was usually curled up on the couch with a book about science, history, or space. If she asked him about his day, Timmy would fall out of his chair and start yelling long lists of things he had learned. He would say, "Mom, today we learned about the water cycle," and his hands would move quickly as he spoke. "It's amazing how water travels all around the world, from oceans to clouds to rain, and back again. Karen would listen, and her heart would race with happiness at how excited her son was. Lisa's kindness to Timmy had given him more than just money. It had also given him the courage to dream big. When they were having dinner one night, Timmy looked up from his plate and gave them a serious look. He told his mother with a strong voice, "When I grow up, I want to be like Lisa. I want to help people and change the world." Karen put her hand on his across the table and squeezed it. "You are all ready," she said in a soft voice. "Every day, you're growing into a kind, smart, and brave young man. I'm so proud of you." When his mother said those words, Timmy smiled and felt proud, and on purpose. He was sure that he could do anything he set his mind to. With the help of his scholarship, his mother's love, and his own drive, Timmy was excited about the events that were waiting for him in the future, which he could see in front of him. Lisa became a daily part of Timmy and Karen's lives over the course of a few months. Every few weekends, her fancy car would pull up to their simple house, bringing the promise of fun, warmth, and new things. Timmy and Karen were a little worried around Lisa at first, because they didn't know what to do with someone so rich and powerful. Lisa, on the other hand, was very friendly and put them at ease right away. She would wear jeans and a t-shirt and have her hair in a messy bun, ready for any excitement the day might bring. Lisa would ask, "So, what's the plan for today, team?" Her eyes would light up with joy. They'd have picnics in the park sometimes and visit museums or try out new recipes in Karen's kitchen other times. Timmy loved having people over. He would ask Lisa a lot of questions about her work and the places she had been, eager to learn everything she had to say. Lisa, in turn, was interested in Timmy because he was curious and had a kind heart. She would often bring him books about things he was interested in, which made him want to learn even more. Karen felt both happy and thankful as she watched their relationship grow. She could see how Lisa was developing Timmy by pushing him to work hard and dream big. Lisa was more than that, though. Lisa was a real friend who she could talk to, laugh with, and lean on when things got tough. As Karen and Lisa sipped lemonade on the porch one sunny Saturday, Lisa gave Karen a soft smile. "You know," she stated, "I never had a family of my own. But being here with you and Timmy, it feels like home." Karen reached out and squeezed Lisa's hand, and tears came to her eyes. "You are family," was all she said. Timmy ran over after hearing what they were saying and put his arms around both of them. He yelled, "Group hug," and all three of them laughed out loud. Their friendship got stronger as the days, weeks, and months went by. They had birthday parties and holiday meals together and made a lot of memories. Lisa was in Timmy's school plays and science shows and cheered him on from the crowd. Lisa was always available by phone for Karen when she needed help or someone to talk to. When the big day finally came, the whole town was buzzing with excitement. In the middle of the neighborhood stood the Timmy Johnson Community Center, its newly painted walls shining in the early morning sun. At the front door, colorful balloons and ribbons welcomed people to this new symbol of unity and hope. As people came in, Timmy, Karen, and Lisa stood near the front doors and said hello to them. Timmy was amazed by the large groups and the building that was named after him. He pulled on his mom's sleeve, and his voice was full of wonder. "Mom, can you believe it? Because of what we did, all of these people are here." Karen looked up at her son with a proud smile. "Yes, honey, all of this began with your kindness." As more people from the town showed up, the mood became more happy. Kids played games on the new playground equipment, while adults talked happily as they looked around the center's different rooms and facilities. Mayor Thompson got on the stage that was set up in front of the building. The crowd went silent when he cleared his throat. He started, "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice loud and clear. "Today, we celebrate not only the opening of a new building, but also the kindness and community that made it possible. He then told the story of Timmy's brave action in the caf and how it led to this moment. His face got warm as he talked, making him feel a mix of shame and pride. Lisa then took the stage, and her eyes were filled with feeling. After seeing Timmy's kind deed that day, I knew I had to do something extra, she said. This center is more than just a building. It shows what we can do when we help each other and stand up for what's right. To get Timmy and Karen to join her, she turned to them and waved. The crowd burst in cheers as they walked up. Timmy was blown away by how much love and support everyone showed him. Timmy was given a big pair of scissors by Lisa. "Would you be the star?" With a smile, she asked. Timmy walked up to the red ribbon that was stretched across the doorway with shaking hands. After taking a deep breath and seeing all the happy smiles, he cut the ribbon. People in the crowd cheered as the ribbon fell to the ground. Timmy smiled with pride, and tears of happiness were still in his eyes. Lisa put a loving hand on his shoulder and squeezed it to make him feel better. Lisa spoke over the excited whispers and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I declare the Timmy Johnson Community Center officially open." The doors opened wide, letting everyone in. Lisa, Karen, and Timmy were the first ones to walk into the bright, friendly lobby. There were colorful paintings on the walls that showed people helping each other, which showed what the center was all about. Timmy was amazed at all the activities and services the center would offer as they went through the different rooms. There was a room for teaching with computers and books, a big gym for exercise and sports classes, and even a community kitchen where cooking classes would be held. Kindness and equality for all was written on a sign that stood tall in the main hall. Timmy read it out loud, his voice full of wonder. "Is that what this place is all about?" Lisa gave a nod, and her eyes sparkled. "That's right, kid. The very values you showed that day in the caf are what this place is all about. We want to teach everyone how important it is to be kind and treat everyone the same, no matter how different we are." Karen wiped a tear from her eye because her son's acts had hurt so many people. She said, with a heavy heart, "I can't believe how much good has come from one small act of kindness." As they went on their tour, people from the community came up to Timmy, shook his hand, and thanked him for making this great new addition to their town possible. As Timmy realized that his bravery had touched so many lives, he felt a warmth spread through his chest. But the grand opening was more than just showing off a new building. It was the start of an effort to build a community based on kindness and respect. Timmy knew that this was the start of something really special. As he looked around at all the happy people and busyness. After the walk was over, everyone gathered in the main hall for the last part of the opening ceremony. A knot of nerves formed in Timmy's stomach as he walked up to the stage. He was about to go on stage, and Lisa gave him a positive nod. Karen then squeezed his hand. Timmy took a deep breath and looked around at all the nice people in front of him. He started to speak in a soft voice that got louder with each word. "Timmy, thank you all for coming today." His words were clear and from the heart. "This is what I never thought would happen when I stood up for what was right. I'm so glad it did." He took a moment to collect his thoughts. "We are all important to this community center, not just me. This song is about the kind of world we want to live in, known where everyone is nice and respected." Timmy's voice was a little shaky as he spoke. "My mom taught me that it's important to help other people and claim that something is wrong. Thanks to Lisa's kindness, we now have this wonderful place where we can all learn to be nicer and more understanding." Many people in the crowd nodded their heads in agreement as they listened. Some people wiped tears from their eyes because the boy was so humble. Timmy was very excited as he spoke. "I hope this center will be a place where people from all walks of life can come together and learn from each other, help each other, and make our community even stronger." He looked right at the crowd and spoke with purpose in his voice. "I hope that one day everyone doesn't feel left out or slighted, and that our differences bring us together instead of tearing us apart." I think the center is a big step toward that goal." When Timmy finished his speech, there was a huge round of applause in the hall. People cheered and clapped as they got to their feet. Karen wiped her tears away because she was so proud of her son. Lisa was happy because she knew that the time and money she had spent on Timmy and the community had been well spent. How people responded showed how much Timmy's words meant to them. His simple but strong message of fairness and kindness struck a chord with everyone there, and they were moved to take this caring spirit outside of the new community center. The community center quickly turned into a busy place where lots of people were doing things. It brought new life to the neighborhood. When it first opened, it was clear that this would be more than just a building. It would be the center of the neighborhood. The center was full of the chatter of kids, the laughter of families, and the love of new friends every day. Timmy and Karen came by a lot and were always willing to help out or take part in the different activities. The after-school training program was one of the most liked services. Kids from all walks of life met in the brightly decorated study rooms, where volunteers helped them with their homework and pushed them to do well in school. Because Timmy remembered how hard it was for him in school, he often helped the younger kids with their math. There was also a food bank at the center, which helped many families in need right away. Karen worked with grocery shops and restaurants in the area to make sure there was a steady supply of healthy food. The thankful looks in the recipients' eyes reminded them all the time of how much of a difference they were making. A lot of different cultures came together at the community center on the weekends. Culture days were hosted by families from all over the world, who shared their customs, food, and stories. As people eagerly tried meals from around the world, the air was filled with the smell of different foods. As Timmy had hoped, these events helped people understand each other and broke down obstacles. The center also had workshops on job training and classes on how to write resumes, which gave people the tools they needed to improve their chances of getting a job. A lot of people gained hope and confidence as they learned useful skills and got help. The center gave the older people in the neighborhood a place to meet new people and stay active. Senior yoga groups and book clubs became popular, helping older people feel less lonely and better mentally. As the weeks went by, it became clearer how the community center had helped. People who used to be strangers but were now neighbors met each other with open arms on the streets. Kids from various places became good friends that will last a long time. Timmy had hoped for a sense of unity, and it was slowly but surely coming true. Timmy and Karen became regulars at the community center, and other people were inspired by their hard work and excitement to join in. They found time in their busy schedules every week to volunteer, and each of them found their own unique way to help. Karen took charge of setting up the food bank, using what she had learned at Lisa's job. She worked with nearby businesses to set up pickups and led a group of helpers. Everyone felt welcome with her warm smile and kind words, whether they were there to help or get help. Karen would often say, "Remember, we're all part of the same community." Her eyes would light up with kindness. "We may help today, but tomorrow, we may need help ourselves. That's the reason we're here for each other." Timmy jumped right into the after-school study program when he turned 13. He knew how hard it could be to do schoolwork and was driven to change things. Many students who were having trouble got better grades and felt better about themselves thanks to his kindness and support. When Timmy was helping a little girl with her math homework one day, he saw how upset she was. "It's okay," he said in a soft voice. "I had trouble with math too, but you know what? We'll work this out together." The girl looked up at him with hope in her eyes. "Really? You also had trouble with math?" Timmy smiled and nodded. "Yes, but I didn't give up, and you won't either. Let us do it one step at a time." As they worked through the issues together, the girl's frown slowly turned into a happy smile. These kinds of moments made everything they did worth it. Karen and Timmy volunteered at the center on a daily basis, but they also took part in special events there. They helped plan events like health fairs, culture festivals, and days to clean up the neighborhood. More and more people joined the center's events because of how excited they were. Karen took a break to watch Timmy one very busy weekend. While they were getting ready for a multicultural food fair, a group of helpers were putting up flags from all over the world. In the main hall, while he laughed with them, she was so proud of the young man he had grown into. "Are you okay, Mom?" Timmy asked when he saw her look at him. Karen smiled, and tears were in her eyes. "I'm so proud of you, honey. There is a lot of good going on here." She felt a hand on her shoulder from Timmy. "I told Mom, we're doing it together. Everyone here, including you. That's what makes it unique." Over the months, Timmy's act of kindness and Lisa's generosity had a good effect on the whole community, inspiring many people to stand up for what's right. People from all walks of life came to the community center because it was a sign of hope and unity. People in town started telling each other about small acts of kindness. Neighbors helped each other with yard work, strangers bought food for each other, and businesses began giving discounts to people in need. Every day seemed to bring more strength to the spirit of kindness that Timmy had started. Timmy and Karen were leaving the community center after a busy day of volunteering one sunny afternoon, when they saw a group of teens gathering around a bulletin board. They walked up to see what had caught their attention, because they were interested. There were colorful flyers on the board advertising different neighborhood projects. People could sign up for a new mentoring program, help clean up the neighborhood, and hear about culture exchange events. But the thing that stood out the most was a big sign in the middle that said, "Be the change." Because of Timmy, Karen cried tears of pride when she saw the difference her son's deeds had made. Timmy just stood there and took it all in. He was embarrassed and happy at the same time. One of the girls in the group turned around and saw Timmy. Her face lit up with happiness. "Oh, my goodness, it's you," she yelled. "You're the reason I signed up to help out here. I learned from your story that even little kids like us can make a difference." She said nice things that made Timmy smile. "That's really cool," he said. "What kind of work do you do for free?" The girl was so proud as she talked about how she and her friends had set up a buddy system at school to make new students feel welcome and part of the group. "That's why we did something to stop bullying, just like you did with that mean man at the coffee shop." More people came over as they talked, and each told a story about how they felt inspired to do something in their neighborhood. An old man talked about starting a neighborhood watch to protect the streets. A woman in her 40s talked about how she had started a community garden to give the food bank fresh food. As fall turned into winter, the community center was busy. Volunteers hung blinking lights and holiday ornaments, making the area a cozy place to spend the holidays. Timmy, Karen, and Lisa had planned a fun party for everyone to enjoy together. The main hall of the center was full of laughter and the smell of hot cocoa on the night of the event. Families from all over town came together, their faces lit up with happiness and excitement. There was a man named Timmy near the door, greeting people with a big smile and a happy holidays. Karen was so proud of her son because he had grown so much. She looked across the room and caught Lisa's eye. They both gave each other a knowing look. Everything they had worked for over the past year came together at this moment. As the night went on, the hall filled with the singing of Christmas songs and the chatter of happy people. In one area, kids played games, and in another, adults told stories and sent their best wishes. There was a strong sense of community and belonging. He made his way through the crowd, stopping to talk to old and new friends. First, he stopped to help a younger child reach a cookie on a high table. Then, he laughed as a group of older women pulled him into a dance. Karen and Lisa stood next to each other and watched what was going on. Karen said in a soft voice, "I never thought our lives would change so much in just 1 year." Lisa gave a nod, and her eyes sparkled. A single act of kindness can make a huge difference. There was a group of 3 people in the middle of the room. As the night came to a close, when Timmy cleared his throat, Everyone stopped talking. His voice was clear and sure as he said, "I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to everyone here for making this place so great. I could never have thought all of this a year ago. But now that I see all of you, I can't picture it any other way." The room cheered loudly, and Timmy felt his mom put her arm around his shoulders. Lisa joined them, and soon they were surrounded by neighbors and friends who gave them hugs and thanks. Do you think Lisa was right to give Timmy the gift? Do you say yes or no? Write your answer in the box below. I'd love to hear your point of view. Also, please follow my channel if you liked the video. I spend a lot of time writing these touching stories for you. And your support is what keeps me going.